your soulmate is struggling with a big decision about your future together. Because of this, have you ever felt the pain of loving someone deeply while sensing that they are silently fighting a battle inside themselves? Sometimes, the hardest part of love is not distance, arguments, or misunderstandings. It is the moment when your soulmate stands at the crossroads of a life-changing decision about your future together. They may love you with all their heart, yet fear, past wounds, responsibilities, or uncertainty hold them back from taking the next step. And in that silence, confusion grows, emotions become heavier, and two hearts that are meant to be together begin to question destiny itself. Today, I want to talk about why even true soulmates struggle with commitment, what causes these emotional conflicts, and how love can either break under pressure or become stronger than ever before. Love is one of the most beautiful emotions a person can experience, yet it is also one of the most frightening. When we imagine soulmates, we often picture two people who meet, instantly connect, and confidently build a future together without hesitation. But real life is far more complex. Sometimes the very person who loves you deeply is also the person struggling the most with commitment. Not because the feelings are fake, but because love forces people to confront their greatest fears. One of the biggest emotional battles in relationships is the conflict between the fear of commitment and the fear of loss. Commitment is not just about saying, I love you. It is about responsibility, sacrifice, vulnerability, and permanence. It means allowing another person to become a permanent part of your life and future. For some people, this idea brings comfort and security. For others, it brings anxiety. They begin to question themselves. What if I fail? What if the relationship changes? What if I hurt the person I love? What if I lose my freedom, my peace, or even myself? These fears create emotional confusion, even when love is genuine. At the same time, there is another powerful emotion involved: the fear of losing someone special. A person may hesitate to commit because they are terrified that if things go wrong, they could lose the person they love forever. Sometimes people avoid deep commitment because they believe distance protects them from heartbreak. They think that staying emotionally cautious will save them from pain. Ironically, in trying to protect themselves, they often create the very distance they fear. This emotional conflict becomes even stronger when past experiences are involved. Someone who has experienced betrayal, heartbreak, abandonment, or toxic relationships may carry invisible emotional scars. Even after meeting someone who truly cares for them, those old wounds continue to whisper negative thoughts into their mind. They may want love desperately, but fear trusting it completely. They may want a future together, but fear that happiness will eventually disappear. As a result, they become trapped between moving forward and pulling away. Many relationships suffer because people misunderstand this hesitation. When a soulmate becomes distant, quiet, or uncertain, the other person often assumes that the love is fading. They begin to feel rejected or unwanted. But hesitation is not always the absence of love. Sometimes it is the presence of fear. A person can love someone deeply and still struggle internally with the weight of commitment and the possibility of loss. Society also adds pressure to relationships. People are expected to make quick decisions about marriage, careers, finances, and family responsibilities. These expectations can make commitment feel overwhelming. Someone may wonder whether they are emotionally stable enough, financially prepared enough, or mature enough to build a future with another person. Instead of openly expressing these fears, many people remain silent, creating emotional distance and confusion in the relationship. The truth is that love requires courage. Real relationships are not built only on chemistry or emotions. They are built on trust, honesty, and emotional security. Overcoming the fear of commitment means learning that love is not about perfection. It is about choosing someone despite uncertainty. Similarly, overcoming the fear of loss means accepting that every meaningful relationship involves vulnerability. When you truly love someone, there is always a risk of pain, but there is also the possibility of deep happiness and growth. Healthy communication becomes essential during these moments. Instead of assuming the worst, couples need to create a safe space where fears can be expressed honestly. Sometimes a soulmate simply needs reassurance, patience, and understanding, rather than pressure or judgment. Emotional support can help transform fear into confidence and uncertainty into clarity. In the end, the struggle between commitment and loss is not a sign that love is weak. In many cases, it is proof that the relationship matters deeply. The stronger the feelings, the greater the fear of making the wrong choice or losing someone precious. But true love survives when two people are willing to face those fears together instead of running from them. Because the most meaningful relationships are not the ones without fear. They are the ones where love becomes stronger than fear itself. One of the deepest truths about relationships is that people do not enter love with an empty heart. Every person carries memories, experiences, disappointments, and emotional scars from the past. Sometimes these wounds are visible through actions and behavior, but many times they remain hidden behind smiles, silence, or emotional distance. This is why a soulmate may struggle with making decisions about the future of a relationship. The issue may not be a lack of love. It may be unresolved pain from the past affecting present choices. Past experiences shape the way people think, trust, and react in relationships. Someone who has been betrayed before may constantly fear dishonesty, even when they are with a loyal partner. A person who experienced abandonment may fear becoming emotionally dependent because they believe everyone eventually leaves. Someone who grew up witnessing toxic relationships may unconsciously associate love with pain, conflict, or disappointment. These emotional memories become barriers that make commitment difficult, even when the relationship itself is healthy. The painful part is that many people are not even fully aware of how deeply their past affects them. They may genuinely want love and stability, yet feel emotionally restless or uncertain when things become serious. The closer they get to commitment, the more their fears begin to surface. Old heartbreaks return to their mind, trust issues reappear, negative thoughts begin to control their emotions. They start questioning the future, not because they do not care, but because they are afraid history will repeat itself. This emotional conflict often creates misunderstanding between soulmates. One partner may interpret hesitation as rejection or emotional distance. They may think, if they truly loved me, why are they confused? But love and fear can exist together. A person can deeply care for someone while still fighting internal battles caused by past trauma. Sometimes they pull away emotionally not because they want to leave, but because they are trying to protect themselves from possible pain. In many relationships, silence becomes the biggest problem. Instead of expressing fears openly, people hide their emotions because they do not want to appear weak, insecure, or damaged. They struggle alone, hoping the confusion will disappear on its own. Unfortunately, silence often creates more distance. The partner waiting for clarity feels ignored, while the person struggling internally feels misunderstood. Without communication, both hearts begin to suffer. Healing from past wounds requires patience, self-awareness, and emotional support. True love is not about pretending pain does not exist, it is about learning how to face it together. A healthy relationship creates a safe environment where both people can express fears without judgment. Reassurance, honesty, and understanding can slowly help someone rebuild trust in love and in themselves. It is also important to understand that healing is a process, not an instant change. Emotional scars do not disappear overnight. Sometimes people need time to let go of old pain before they can fully embrace a future with someone new. This does not mean the relationship is doomed. It simply means the heart is learning how to feel safe again. In the end, past wounds only have power when they remain unhealed and unspoken. Soulmates, who are willing to communicate honestly and support each other through emotional struggles often become stronger than before. Love cannot erase the past, but it can help people grow beyond it. And sometimes the greatest proof of love is not perfection. It is the courage to heal together while building a future side by side. Love is powerful, but life itself can sometimes become even more overwhelming. Many people believe that if two soulmates truly love each other, nothing should stand in their way. However, reality often proves that relationships are deeply affected by timing, responsibilities, and personal struggles. Sometimes a soulmate is not confused because the love is weak, but because life pressure is making the future feel uncertain. Career goals, financial stress, family expectations, emotional maturity, and personal responsibilities can all influence the decisions people make about their relationships. One of the biggest challenges in modern relationships is balancing love with personal ambitions and stability. A person may genuinely want a future with someone, yet feel unprepared to provide emotional or financial security. They may worry about whether they can handle the responsibilities that come with commitment, marriage, or building a life together. Instead of expressing these fears openly, they often become distant or hesitant. Their silence can easily be misunderstood as a lack of love, when in reality they are struggling with pressure they do not know how to manage. Timing also plays a major role in relationships. Sometimes two people meet at the right moment emotionally, while other times they meet during periods of confusion, stress, or personal transformation. A soulmate may still be trying to discover themselves, heal from past experiences, establish a career, or meet family responsibilities. Even when love is strong, these unfinished parts of life can create emotional conflict. A person may think, I love them, but am I truly ready for this future? Family and society can add even more pressure. In many cultures, relationships are not viewed as private emotional connections alone. They are linked to financial status, career success, social expectations, and family approval. A person may feel trapped between following their heart and meeting the expectations placed upon them by others. This pressure can create stress, anxiety, and indecision. They may fear disappointing their family, failing in life, or making choices they are not fully prepared for. Another important factor is emotional readiness. Love requires maturity, communication, patience, and sacrifice. Some people realize that although they deeply care for someone, they are not emotionally prepared to handle the seriousness of commitment. This realization can create guilt and confusion. They may fear losing the person they love, while also fearing that moving forward too quickly could damage the relationship. Unfortunately, when life pressure becomes intense, relationships often suffer from misunderstanding. One partner may feel neglected, ignored, or emotionally abandoned, while the other feels overwhelmed by responsibilities and internal stress. Without honest communication, assumptions begin to grow. Small problems become larger, and emotional distance slowly increases. This is why understanding and patience are essential in relationships. True love is not only about romantic feelings during easy moments, it is also about supporting each other through difficult phases of life. Soulmates who communicate openly about their fears, struggles, and future goals are more likely to survive life's pressures together. Instead of seeing challenges as obstacles separating them, they learn to face them as a team. At the same time, timing should never become an endless excuse for emotional uncertainty. Healthy relationships require effort and clarity from both people. Love grows stronger when both partners are willing to balance their personal struggles while still valuing the relationship. In the end, life pressure and timing can test even the strongest connection, but they also reveal the depth of love and commitment between two people. Real soulmates are not defined by perfect circumstances. They are defined by their ability to stand together, even when life feels complicated and uncertain. One of the most painful experiences in a relationship is emotional silence. When someone we love becomes distant, quiet, or emotionally unavailable, our mind immediately begins to assume the worst. We start believing that the love is fading, that interest is disappearing, or that the relationship is coming to an end. Silence creates confusion because human hearts naturally seek reassurance, communication, and emotional connection. However, silence does not always mean the absence of love. Sometimes, it is the result of emotional struggles that a person does not know how to express. Many people are not taught how to communicate their emotions openly. Instead of speaking about fear, stress, confusion, or insecurity, they hide their feelings inside themselves. They may remain silent because they are afraid of being misunderstood, judged, or rejected. Others stay quiet because they are trying to process their emotions before making important decisions. In relationships, this silence can become emotionally exhausting for both people involved. A soulmate may deeply love someone and still struggle to explain what they are feeling internally. Sometimes they are battling personal fears, family pressure, financial stress, mental exhaustion, or unresolved pain from the past. They may not know how to express these emotions clearly, so they withdraw emotionally. To the other person, this distance feels cold and painful, but internally, the silent partner may be fighting confusion and emotional conflict rather than a lack of love. Silence can also happen when someone fears hurting the person they love. They may avoid difficult conversations because they do not want to create arguments or disappointment. Ironically, by avoiding communication, they often create even more emotional pain. The longer silence continues, the more misunderstandings begin to grow. One partner feels ignored and emotionally abandoned, while the other feels trapped in emotions they cannot explain. In many relationships, people mistake communication style for emotional truth. Some individuals express love openly through words and constant reassurance, while others struggle to verbalize emotions, even when their feelings are genuine. This difference can create insecurity. A person who needs emotional clarity may feel unloved when their partner becomes quiet, while the quiet partner may assume their love is already understood without needing constant expression. Social expectations also play a role. Many people, especially men in some cultures, are taught to hide vulnerability and suppress emotional expression. They learn to remain silent instead of discussing fears or emotional pain. Over time, this emotional habit affects relationships. Instead of opening up during difficult moments, they retreat inward, believing silence is safer than emotional honesty. This is why communication is one of the most important foundations of love. Healthy relationships require more than feelings, they require emotional openness and understanding. Instead of immediately assuming silence means rejection, couples need to create safe spaces for honest conversation. Asking with patience instead of accusation can make a huge difference. Sometimes a person simply needs reassurance that they can express themselves without fear of judgment. At the same time, silence should not become permanent emotional neglect. While temporary distance may reflect internal struggles, healthy relationships still require effort and communication from both sides. Love cannot survive for long in complete emotional disconnection. Eventually, fears and feelings must be spoken aloud so that understanding can replace confusion. In the end, silence is often a language of hidden emotions rather than empty love. Behind quiet behavior may exist fear, pressure, insecurity, or emotional exhaustion. True soulmates learn not only to listen to words, but also to understand the emotions that remain unspoken. Because sometimes the deepest love exists in hearts that are struggling to find the courage to speak. Love is often described as a magical feeling that naturally brings two people together. But true love is much more than emotions and attraction. Real relationships are tested by uncertainty, fear, misunderstandings, and difficult decisions. This is why true love requires two powerful qualities: clarity and courage. Without them, even the strongest emotional connection can become lost in confusion and silence. Clarity in a relationship means honesty about feelings, intentions, and the future. It means understanding where the relationship stands and what both people truly want. Many relationships begin beautifully, filled with excitement and emotional connection. But problems arise when uncertainty enters the picture. One person may hesitate to define the relationship, avoid important conversations, or remain emotionally inconsistent. This lack of clarity creates confusion and emotional pain, because love cannot grow peacefully in constant doubt. When someone truly values a relationship, they understand the importance of communication. They do not leave the other person trapped in endless uncertainty. Instead, they make an effort to express their feelings honestly. Even when the truth is difficult, clarity does not always mean having every answer immediately, but it does mean being emotionally transparent. It means saying, "This is what I feel, this is what I fear, and this is where I stand." Such honesty builds trust and emotional security between two people. At the same time, clarity alone is not enough. Love also requires courage. Relationships involve vulnerability, and vulnerability can be frightening. To truly love someone means risking disappointment, heartbreak, rejection, and emotional pain. Many people avoid commitment, not because they lack feelings, but because they fear the risks that come with deep emotional attachment. They are afraid of failure, change, sacrifice, or losing control over their emotions. Courage in love means choosing the relationship despite those fears. It means being willing to face challenges instead of running away from them. Real love is not proven during easy and perfect moments. It is proven when two people continue choosing each other during uncertainty and emotional struggle. Courage allows people to have difficult conversations, admit insecurities, and work through problems together rather than avoiding them. Another important part of courage is emotional responsibility. In healthy relationships, both people recognize that their actions and silence affect each other deeply. They understand that avoiding communication or leaving someone emotionally confused can create pain. Courage means respecting the other person enough to provide honesty, instead of mixed signals or emotional distance. Life will always test relationships. There will be moments of stress, fear, personal struggles, and difficult choices. However, true soulmates do not allow these challenges to destroy the connection without a fight. They face problems together with maturity, understanding, and emotional honesty. They realize that love is not only about passion, but also about effort, patience, and commitment. At the same time, true love also requires the courage to accept reality. Sometimes people discover they are not emotionally ready or capable of giving the relationship what it deserves. In such situations, honesty is far kinder than false promises or emotional confusion. Clarity protects both hearts from deeper pain in the future. In the end, love without clarity creates uncertainty, and love without courage creates fear. But when two people are honest about their feelings and brave enough to face challenges together, the relationship becomes stronger and more meaningful. True soulmates are not people who never struggle. They are people who choose each other with honesty and courage, even when love becomes difficult. Because real love is not simply found, it is built through trust, truth, and the bravery to stay committed through every challenge life brings.